I am, as you know, Firth-Butterfield. I'm head of machine learning and artificial intelligence at the World Economic Forum. So thank you very much for joining me to talk about governance mechanisms, global governance mechanisms around autonomous and intelligent systems. So, you know, we are told all the time that technology doesn't determine the future. We do, but really, you know, with the amount of innovation that we read about every day and with the amount of things that we read about where something's gone wrong and we might be forgiven for thinking that perhaps we're not as in control as we would like to be. Perhaps we're not shaping the future as much as we would like to be with this technology. And so we at the World Economic Forum have been thinking about ways in which we could globally govern this technology. And I want to tell you a little bit about that today. It's about our projects, about our philosophy, and about our Global Artificial Intelligence Council that will come online in September. So let's start with Agile Governance. What do we mean by Agile Governance? Well, what we mean is it's an adaptive, human-centered, inclusive, and sustainable way of making policy. We want it to be able to rapidly change these governance structures. We want to be able to embrace that change and learn from it. So when we're thinking about the projects that we do, this is the underpinning philosophy for those projects. And the types of things that we might see as agile governance might be those standards that the IEEE has been producing or the protocols that we produce at the forum. The emergence of social norms, private incentive schemes, certification, and I'm going to come back to that later, oversight by professional bodies, or just self-regulation where companies and consumers and traders come together to work out a better way of thinking about how they're going to govern the technology that they're talking about. So this is an example of a project, but before I talk about it, I want to really explain to you a little bit more about the actual way that the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution in San Francisco is set up. So about 2 years ago, Professor Schwab, who founded the World Economic Forum, published a book called The Fourth Industrial Revolution. And in it, he identified some technologies that he thought would be key in the coming years. Artificial intelligence is one of them, but also blockchain, IoT, drones, autonomous vehicles, precision medicine. They're all foundational technologies that we'll see more and more of. And underpinning those, data policy and cross-border data flows. So at San Francisco, there is someone in charge of every one of those verticals, and they too, like me, are looking at global governance mechanisms for these technologies. And it's not just in San Francisco. Over the forthcoming year, we expect to have at least 10 more centers around the world opened. We will start in summer with 3 of them, one in China, one in India, and one in Japan. And out of all those centers, also we'll be looking at global governance issues. And so if you think about it, we expect there to be 5 projects in most of those centers. So you're looking at, within the next year, some between 20 and 60 different global governance projects. So what is a project? How do we do this? A project takes 18 months. 3 months in the scoping, 9 months in the co-creation, and then, which probably makes us different from most other people in this space, 6 months actually working with the country to pilot it. So if a country joins our work, they are committing to piloting the outcome of our work. So within the next 18 months to 2 years, you will see pilots of these global governance measures coming up all around the world. And also, even if we just do a project with one government, the idea is not that we're a consultant working for that government. The idea is that that one project will form a model which we can then say to other governments, it worked here, why don't you try it? So that's the background. Who are we partnering with on this? Well, our partners are governments, businesses, from large corporations through to small startups and our tech pioneer community, civil society, and academics. So in any project, you're going to see any number of those people. Fellows based in San Francisco and fellows virtually joining our projects. So very quickly, I'd like to move to what are those projects? The first one is this, unlocking the public sector AI. Our partner here is a European government, and we are expecting at least 2 other governments from around the world to join this project. The idea here is really to, again, look for an agile governance method. So instead of the government having to say, these are the standards or guidelines to which I'm legislating, instead we will co-produce these standards or guidelines against which all of the artificial intelligence that this government buys in or creates for itself will be measured. What we hope that will happen is 2 things. One, that everybody in that jurisdiction will know where the government would legislate, should it choose to do so, and therefore they will know that they can innovate within that spectrum. And 2, we hope it will encourage innovation, because those people who are creating artificially intelligent products will know what the government wants of them. A second project, which is slightly different, is one that we're working on to help boards. So, boards are told, to particularly traditional boards, go get AI, but they have no idea what go get AI means. They don't actually know what AI means, or machine learning in many cases. And so we know so many people who've made terrible and very expensive mistakes, and that's actually holding people back from actually going and trying some of these things. And so we thought, if we created a toolkit that enabled boards to ask the right questions, find out what go-getting AI means for them, and we would have 2 benefits. One is to help them to innovate and move forward with the technology, and the other is to actually create more innovation as people actually start buying the technology. Moving on then to my other projects, but before I do that, I just want to mention to you that we have one completed project. It's not a normal project, it was simply a white paper, but if any of you are interested in the important intersection of the economy, patent law, and artificial intelligence, I really recommend you go to the website and have a read of that white paper. We ended up with more questions than answers, but there are questions that we need to seriously think about. So here are the other projects. Reimagining the regulator. We have 3 countries that are interested in working with us on this, one of whom, I'm delighted to say, is the government of Rwanda. It's wonderful, particularly because here's an emerging economy using emerging tech and being at the forefront of thinking about these things. So what I want you to do is to imagine a regulator that doesn't wait until you got it wrong and fine you, but instead works with you as you're innovating your products with AI and then certifies that your product is fit for the purpose. That would be a sea change, and it would be particularly good, we think, to help with innovation and mitigate risks. The next project is one that we're doing with Carnegie Mellon. The idea here is that eventually, and sooner rather than later, no AI scientist will come out of university without having taken a course in culturally relevant ethics and social impact of their technology. So the idea is that those professors, some of whom you will hear speaking in the next 2 days, who have ethics or social impact curricula already designed, they upload that onto our website at the forum, and then we encourage others to simply take those curricula off the forum's website, make them culturally relevant to them, which is really important, and all we ask in return is that they put them back onto the website once they've created their own tools. And then last, but by no means least, is the Generation AI project. At the moment, we're looking at children, but as we use AI with elders more and more, we can see that there's some relevance there as well. So I'm a great proponent of AI for education, but I'm also concerned that there are some underlying important things that we need to think about before we go there. So for example, if your child's invisible friend is an AI-enabled toy, does that change their creative play? If instead of creating a party, a doll's party for their children, for their toys, and they have a number of AI-enabled toys all talking to them, does that affect creative play? We don't know the answer to that. Perhaps we need to know the answer to that. Is it good because it's training our children who will be working with robots to work with robots? Is it bad? We've just heard a session about privacy and manipulation. We know that children in the early years form those embedded values. Are they getting their values from their parents, from their social network, or are they getting some of them from these toys? And do we know what they might be? It's a particularly good manipulative tool, perhaps, if you're not in an economy where the GDPR applies. So what are the benefits, and which I think are tremendous? But let's get some of this underpinning right first. So I talked a little bit about the fact that we'd be creating a global AI council. Its mission is to globally govern AI, looking for implications for international coordination and cooperation. And it will also give strategic guidance for all the work that we do at the centers around the world on the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution work. Most importantly, this too is a multi-stakeholder council. There will be premiers from nations across the world on this council, CEOs from large corporations through to startups, CEOs of civil society, and also senior academics. And many of you might have read that Theresa May, the Prime Minister of Britain, has already agreed to serve on this council. And so the first meeting of this council will be on the 18th of September at what we call Summer Davos. It's actually in China. And we look forward to moving forward with these councils who will be thinking globally about the work that we should be doing. So I'm going to give you back some time, Daniel, because I've got 3 minutes, slightly under 3 minutes. But before I close, I want to talk to you just very briefly about one of the things that keeps me up at night. Looking around the room, I see a lot of people who probably come from a developed country. But this is my question. How do we make sure that AI benefits everybody? If you have some good ideas for a project that I could do on this particular topic, please email me, ai@weforum.org, or come and see me. Because what we don't want is to find that in our rush to go forward with this technology, we leave half the world behind again. Thank you.